Hi, today I thought I'd do something a little different. I'd like to explore why it is there appears to be an expectation of aspiration for anyone that makes music. Why do people seem to think you should either want to or are aiming to be the next big thing? Why is it you need to be good? Why is it people think you need to make content or you need to make a product out of your hobby? I can't think of any other pastime where people think you need to be cutting edge or be really good at it, or even just aim to be really good at it. It seems to be something that's held purely for musicians and people that aren't musicians that just want to play music. But before I start, I'd like to take you back in time. And before we jump back in time, I'd like to jump forward to now when I've just finished editing this. And while I was talking, I felt a little bit at times like I was on a bit of a rant, which now I've edited it, I realized that that's not what I was doing at all. This is a love letter to spending time enjoying doing what you love and not worrying about what anyone else thinks. You don't have to produce anything. You don't have to be good. It doesn't matter if you're bad. It doesn't matter if you're derivative. It doesn't matter if you're original. It doesn't matter if you're massively creative or it's really boring to anyone else. If you're enjoying doing it and you've got music as an outlet, do it, love it, and enjoy it. So now it's time to go back in time. This is Liverpool's Georgian Quarter, and it's full of classic British architecture used for the background of loads of TV shows. If you're watching a BBC period drama, you'll often spot some of these buildings in the background. And I lived here for about 8 years back in the 90s, as did lots of my friends. And it's a bohemian area. There's artists, there's students, and people with no money that live and lived around there. I had 2 apartments. They were £250 each. I lived in one, £250, and the one below me came free, so I rented that as well. One was where I lived, and the other was my studio. And as you might expect, an area like this is full of traditional and beautiful old pubs where I spent a fair amount of my time back in the day. And every one of these pubs we're looking at here is within a 2-minute walk, about 500 metres from where I lived. And one in particular springs to mind. It's this one. It's called Peter Kavanagh's, and it's famous in the area for these amazing murals on the walls. And it really feels like you're stepping back in time once you go through the front door. And when I look back at the time now, those Sunday evenings that we spent in Peter Kavanagh's were a real link to like old school Liverpool. The licensing hours were really draconian back then. It was 10:30, closing time at 10:30, no drinks after 10:30 during the week, and 10 I think it was on a Sunday. And all over the city and all over the UK, they'd close the doors, they'd lock the door, and we'd have what was called a lock-in. So they'd still serve drinks. It was highly illegal and people did get raided, but it was fun. You'd sit in there and the musicians would carry on playing, and you know, a really nice atmosphere, people really enjoying themselves, and those musicians weren't there to get paid. And they weren't even musicians. There was a guy there called Dave with this big handlebar moustache, and during the week he was an architect, but between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. on a Sunday he was a professional spoons player. So played the spoons, like did little percussive things on them, and he was really proud of his spoons. He had these 2 nickel-plated big dessert spoons that rang out, and anyone that was interested, he would spend hours telling you how to pick a decent pair of spoons if you wanted to get into it. And he would teach people how to play it. It was a brilliant night. It was good fun, and you know, I've got very, very fond memories of it. And my dad was one of those old school pub pianists. You know, you hum it, I'll play it. And he used to play a lot of pubs down the Dock Road, and he took me down once, and there was all these people, again, similar sort of thing. Some mediocre musicians and some absolutely brilliant musicians. I remember a guy called Gary Potter, and he was like Django Reinhardt sort of guitar style, like gypsy guitar style, and he became one of the UK's best guitarists. But at the time, he was just a guy in a pub doing it purely for the love of it. My dad also raced motorbikes just for the love of it. He raced in the Isle of Man TT for years, which is one of the most, or probably the most dangerous road race circuit on the planet. People used to die every year there, and he didn't ever expect to win. But he did win a few of these. These are called replicas, and if you came within a certain percentage of the winner's time, you used to get a smaller version of the winner's trophy. But he never expected to become professional. He never expected to win, never expected to make any money out of it. He did it for the fun of it. His mates that were his mechanics did it for the fun of it. His mate that was an engineer did it for the fun of it. It was all just about enjoying yourself. And my mum, she's an artist, and she makes these lovely watercolours. buildings around Liverpool, buildings around Wales, and she sends Christmas cards every year to all her friends of a new picture. But nobody expects her to be the next Picasso. She doesn't expect to be the next Picasso. She doesn't want to be the next Picasso, the next Hockney, or the next Lowry, or whatever. She's doing it purely for the fun of it, and everybody accepts that's all she's doing it for. But she's allowed to. She's allowed to do it for fun because it's art. And that's been the same for hobbies and interests since the dawn of time. I'm sure cavemen drawing paintings on a wall quite enjoyed drawing paintings without making any money out of it, without demonstrating to the next tribe along that they were better than them, anything like that. Pure fun, pure escapism. Get your modular system, plug all those wires in, create this amazing patch, enjoy doing it, enjoy listening to it, and then unplug it all, put it all away for the next day. No one else is ever going to hear it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. It generally makes life that little bit better. If you go fishing, play golf, play tennis, go canoeing, go mountain climbing, no one expects you to want to be better than you are. People expect you to do it for fun of it. So why is it with music, people seem to think that you have to have a goal, that you have to be good at it, that you have to play live, that you have to be super creative, that you have to do something worthwhile? I recently made a demo of the Genki Instruments Kakka. That's the volcano synth, which is €5,000. So it's an incredibly expensive synth, and not everyone is going to be able to afford it. In fact, very, very few will, which is probably why they're limiting it to a run of 100 units only. They'll have done the sums, €5,000, 100 units. That means that we can pay for the development, for the coding, for the machining, for the tooling, for the production, for the assembly, for the distribution, have a little bit left over, but we've had a great time doing it. And I met the guys from Genki for the first time back in Machina Bistonica last September, and they're really, really passionate about what they do. And in fact, there's a guy called Matt that does the coding that lives in Birkenhead, which is about a 20-minute drive from where I live, where I went and picked this one up from. And he's really passionate about what he does. He really loves making things, building things, designing things. In fact, he set up the building that you can see behind him. That's called Birkenhack, and that's like a maker space where people can go rent a desk, and they've got access to all these things to make stuff. You know, these people love what they do. But in the comments, there was quite a few people that not complained, but commented that the only people that could afford it were doctors, dentists, and lawyers, middle-aged people that now had a bit of money, so that, you know, enough money to buy something that's that expensive. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with somebody that wanted to be a musician, that in the comments are called failed musicians? What's wrong with somebody that wanted to do that back in the past, and they're in the 20s, they realized, actually, I need to pay some bills. I'm never going to be a famous musician. I'm never going to make a living out of it, which most people don't. 20 or 30 years down the line, the kids have left home, they might have paid off the mortgage, they've got a bit of spare cash. You know what I'd love to do? I'd love to buy one of the really cool looking synths and sit there and play it on my own and do nothing else with it. Just enjoy a Monday evening in my lounge making cool sounds through this nice stereo I've got. What on earth is wrong with that? And the people that comment on things like that will be, in 20 or 30 years time, more than likely the same failed musicians popping up and looking for things to do, looking for nice activities. All those people commenting probably aren't successful musicians. Successful musicians won't be there complaining that somebody else has bought something that they can't afford. And I'm not really, this isn't about having a go at those people. It's more about, why is that attitude there? And why do people think it's okay to say, you shouldn't have that because you're not going to do anything of any worth with it. You shouldn't have that because I can't afford it. Or you shouldn't have that because you're not going to make something that's leading edge or really amazingly creative. You're not going to do anything worthwhile at all again. But it is worthwhile. Everything that we do from a musical standpoint is worthwhile if it's good for us, good for our well-being, makes our world a little better. And that brings me to you know, what we do in Liverpool. I hope those people, when they do, their heads pop up in 20 or 30 years' time, or as lucky as we are in Liverpool are today. We've got like a lovely community of people. We go and meet up every couple of months, and everyone brings a few synths along. We all have a play with each other's bits and bobs. We're running something called Synthlark. We've had 11 of those this year so far. I host them. People come along. We have about 4 acts every night that come along and play. Some of them are brilliant, amazing, and we've been doing it for years. You'd think you should be professional. Why doesn't anyone else know about you? You know, why aren't you in the wider world? And then you've got people that are doing their first ever gig, but no one cares how good these sound. Everyone's different. Everyone uses different instruments. Everyone does things in different ways. It's just a lovely community of people getting together and enjoying themselves, no judgment. And that's what brings me back to the whole thing in Peter Kavanagh's and Liverpool and places like it all across the country, all across the world, where people have got together to do things, have fun for no other purpose than enjoying themselves and having a release. So it's strange to think that this sort of modular setups and these synths, these really high-tech little setups that people bring and demo are the same, really the same as those people that turned up in Peter Kavanagh's with a penny whistle, a guitar, one of those, what to call those Irish drum things, you know, or a violin or a viola, or whatever they turned up with. We're doing the same thing now, 30 years later, but with highly technical bits of kit. We're stepping out, enjoying ourselves, and there's people there that do it at home and will never play it to anyone else. Does it matter? No, it doesn't. So why do we have this expectation of aspiration for anybody that does music? Surely we can just do it purely for the love of it. So a little bit of a rant there, because I do find in the comments people can be a little mean, and I don't understand it, to be honest. Let people enjoy themselves, let people make music or not. So I hope that didn't annoy too many people. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, subscribe and all that sort of stuff. Thanks for staying to the very end, and I will see you next time.